everybody, this is Steve with Smitty's Fly Box. Today for the beginner box, we're going to tie this fly I call the Dredger. It's kind of like a Czech nymph style. It's a heavy nymph with the 2 beads. We'll put a little lead on there. And yeah, it's got that little hot head on there, so it's a pretty cool little fly using a barbless Orienson hook, some Round Rocks beads, and I'll show you how to tie it. So first off, in the box I included some lead wire, and this is optional. It's up to you kind of how heavy you would like this fly. So I'm going to make 7 or 8 good turns right there with that wire and just lay down a nice little layer there. Now the first thing I did, I forgot to mention, I have 2 beads on there. So I put the small bead on first, and then the second bead I put on backwards. So the large hole is facing forward. So that will kind of press up against the hot head, and then I'll press all that wire up there really tight up against it. So it really makes a cool looking kind of hot head right there. And now what we'll do is we'll just start our thread just behind the wire there. And then let's just make a few good turns really tight up into that wire and secure that in. And now we're ready to for the next step. Now it's good idea to hit that with a little bit of super glue. Make sure none of that twists around on us right there. We'll let that kick. All right, now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some copper wire. We're going to use this for the ribbing. So I've just cut a strand that's 3 or 4 inches long, and let's just kind of lay it in there just where that lead wire ends. And we'll secure that in there just on the near side of the hook, and we'll tie that down slightly around the bend of the hook, just till that just barely turns like that, and we'll return our thread right there. The next material we're going to tie in is this thin skin material, and so this just is a plastic product that has a little paper back, and I want to cut a nice strip here that's about the same width as the small bead is about what I'm using. Once we have that, we can take that paper back there and we'll just peel that off like that, and it'll kind of curve up like that. So that's how I want to tie it in, so it curves up. So let's just lay that thin skin right there just so it rolls right up on top. Just kind of hold that tight in place as I wrap it down, tie it down, our thread down around the bend of the hook just to where our wire is, right in there. We're going to let that hang. Now we're ready for the dubbing, and I'm going to use this nymph dubbing that we have, this olive brown. And I think I've sent 2 colors of dubbing. Now for the dubbing, you don't need a ton there. That's probably going to do this whole fly. So the common mistake is getting too much dubbing to start. So I'm just going to take about half that amount and just lay that right on top of the thread. And now with my middle finger and my thumb, I'm going to just make motions like this as I work my way down the thread. And that's going to dub that nice and tight. And I want a nice even layer of dubbing that covers a couple of inches there of the thread. And now I can control that as I try to build a tapered body moving forward. So again, starting kind of lightly, and then I'm going to get a little thicker now as I get up onto the lead. And let's use that other little section there and just fill that in. Okay, so I'll just continue on now, just filling that in, and I'll leave just a little tiny space there right behind the bead. All right, now we're ready to take this thin skin and we'll pull that fairly tight, just position that right along the top, hold that with my right hand. With my left hand, I'll drop my thread over a couple of times and then add a little thread tension to tie in that thin skin. Snip off the excess, and let's just make a couple of turns right there to secure that in. All right, now we've got our ribbing back here. We're going to take this over the top away from us and just build this ribbed body forward. So this gives us that little larva ribbed look. Just space that out moving forward. Once I reach this thread, I'm going to just hold it tight with my right hand and again drop my thread over with my left hand about 3 times. Now what you can do is now just pull the wire forward and make a couple of turns in front of it. And let's come back and make another tight one in behind it. Now if you take this wire, just get a hold of it and just make a couple of good turns, it'll pop right off there. Pretty clean. And now I can just come back and make a couple more turns to secure that. All right, now that fly would be good just like that, but I'm going to add a little more dubbing just for that collar to give it a little bit of a buggy look. So I'm going to use just a really sparse amount of this hare's ear dubbing, black, and really just cover up that what I have there. And I'm going to leave it a little loose on one side like that. So now when I dub around, it'll keep some of those fibers kind of loose. Now I could do my whip finish. And we'll tie that off right there. And we can hit that with just a little bit of head cement or a super glue right up in there. Now if you had a little dubbing brush or something to pick that out, you can just kind of pick out that black dubbing and get some of those fibers flowing back, and it gives it just a little bit of a scruffy, buggy look like that. And that's a really effective little nymph there that you can use really through the winter months as well. But that's been very effective just as like a regular nymph or a dropper below a big dry fly or like an anchor fly. So try that, bounce it along the bottom, dredge the bottom, and hopefully you can catch some fish.